Hello, everybody. Welcome to the Rotoworld Football Show. It is Tuesday, October 1st. The fake news media saying it's already October. I'm Patrick Daugherty, joined by Mr. Denny Carter, where we have a lot to talk about. Two convincing Monday Night Football victories. The Lions almost literally perfect in their 42-29 win over the Seahawks. The Titans far less perfect, but just as convincing, seeing as the University of Alabama could beat the Miami Dolphins right now, Denny. 31-12 for Tennessee. Then a lot of news to get to. Joe Flacco versus Anthony Richardson in Indianapolis. AR could still start. Dontayvion Wicks season. Mark Andrews droppable. I did a Reddit AMA Tuesday, and the folks are wondering if Mark Andrews is droppable. Let me tell you.
Yeah, they are. They're asking very strongly about
they are,
that.
And they also asking very strongly about Patrick Mahomes, which isn't on the menu, but I'm going to ask you about the Chiefs backfield. Chase Brown. Denny, first, before we start the show, by the way, Denny, I believe you're on your wrong microphone. I'm going to filibuster a little bit while you change your microphone. But we talk about the news a lot on the show. But we also talk about, Denny, is wide receivers tweeting. And I have been informed that the wide receivers and maybe even the coaches are tweeting. What's going on?
Yeah, I am on the correct mic now. Thank you for that. Davante Adams was asked Tuesday morning whether he was aware of Antonio Pierce, the head coach of the Raiders. I'm trying to get this all straight. Liking a post on some social platform that suggested
Mastodon.
that the Raiders,
or maybe it was post. The post.
Yeah, now you threw me off. That
Sorry.
Antonio Pierce liked an online post suggesting that Davante Adams would be traded from the Raiders before the NFL's trade deadline, and Adams said he was not aware of that. Now, first of all, I don't believe Davante when he says he is unaware. Secondly, maybe these two guys should get together in a room and talk.
Speak? Yep.
And talk. I think that a face-to-face conversation. I'm just spitballing, but I actually think that would go a long way in determining the direction of this player and this team.
Yeah, listen, man. I'm the coach right now. Antonio Pierce, listen, man. We get it. You staked your career on Derek Carr, and everyone knew that would fail. And it, of course, has failed.
Everyone but you.
Everyone but you knew that would fail. It has failed. You had no idea that this would result in Gardner Minshew and Jimmy Garoppolo. Even we admitted the Jimmy Garoppolo thing, Davante. We moved on immediately from the Jimmy Garoppolo thing. Please don't hold the Jimmy Garoppolo thing against us. Jimmy Garoppolo no longer wanted to play football. Gardner Minshew wants to play football too much, Davante. He wants it too bad. The dog levels are too high, and it's counterproductive. But Davante, just stick with us here. We will occasionally get you the ball more than Jacoby Myers. And that's the agreement we're making.
Or Trey Tucker.
Yes.
Yeah.
Oh, my God. Yep.
Yeah.
The Jets thing's not happening, by the way, Denny.
I don't know. I saw an interview with Aaron Rodgers just before I logged on to do this podcast, and he looked interested when the topic.
Of course, he is. He played with him in Green Bay. Jake Kumaro. He tries to have a poker face, and he just goes all blotchy. I said was Jake Kumaro.
The Jets need a wide receiver one, and Davante Adams can be that wide receiver one. I'm being serious.
Stop it.
It can be Adams, Lazard, and then Garrett Wilson can chip in.
Oh my God.
This is.
But Rodgers, I think he's reconsidering a few things. He had, I tweeted this, so sorry if you already saw it, but he was getting dangerously close to. He realized he not built for this face on Sunday. Dude, I did not sign up to get absolutely walloped by the Denver Broncos behind this offensive line, man. We got to do something. So that's why I think if the Jets make a move, it's going to be for something other than receiver.
The Broncos did this weird thing where they hit Aaron Rodgers.
They did.
Which
mercilessly.
The first three teams that he's faced this season, they have not done that at all. And so they sent a lot of blitzers, and they hit him both when Rodgers got the ball off and when he didn't, and they hit him hard. And he kind of looked around like, wait, is this allowed?
I know. He was seriously, to his credit, he didn't whine about it. He didn't complain about it, but he was kind of like, what?
No. Yeah, he did. No whining, nothing like that. But he did. He was looking around like a late career Tom Brady going, hold up. This is not what I signed up for.
No.
This is not part of the deal.
No. was not part of the deal. I guess he still thinks Davante Adams is part of the deal. We'll find out about the art of the Davante Adams deal before this month is through. But artful from Jared Goff on Monday night, Denny. 18 of 18. Jared Goff, not only has he thrived away from Sean McVay, he's now literally perfect.
He is perfect.
Except for, of course, when it comes to getting the ball to Sam LaPorta, who is part of the ongoing like nuclear accident at tight end where just no one can produce. Again, in the Reddit chat, everyone's like, can I drop? And they just listed the top 12 tight ends. Like they want to drop every single tight end in existence. Sam LaPorta, last night, here's how bad things with Sam LaPorta have been. 4 catches matched a season high, 53 yards were a new season high. So we can't really even single Sam LaPorta out. Since I said it's like a position-wide meltdown. What is the lay of the Sam LaPorta land? Is it as simple as like J-Mo emerging? He just like couldn't afford someone else emerging, and then someone else emerged.
On the Rotoworld Football Show, we may have mentioned that in August 5 or 10 or 15 times that if J-Mo actually became a thing, somebody's going to suffer here. And it looks like mostly it's LaPorta, but it's also kind of Amon-Ra, although he's getting away with it big time, of course, because he always does.
He's going to get away with it all the way to the Hall of Fame, man.
Yeah, no, he is. Yeah, obviously he's a Hall of Famer. But look, LaPorta, it's bleak. It's bleak. I looked into the numbers. LaPorta's been targeted on 12% of his pass routes this season. Last year, he was targeted on 21% of his routes. There's a huge gap there.
I'm sure you didn't just transpose the numbers and it's still 21%.
I made sure I didn't do that. I will say here's the only silver lining is that his average depth of target and yards after the catch are both very stable from last year. So it's not like he's fallen off as a player. He's just not being looked to as often. And, and something else we mentioned is that the Lions desperately don't want to be a pass first team or even really a balanced offense. The Lions drop back rate is 51% this season. That's 9% below expected. One of the run heaviest teams in the league. And when they get a lead, they are the run heaviest team in the NFL. They're a good team. And that's bad for Sam LaPorta.
They are. Yeah, the Lions, they're beating the, like, maybe they peaked last year allegations.
They are.
Where
Yeah.
They haven't peaked. They're really good. I don't look at the schedule. 1 score over the Cardinals, 1 score over the Rams. Never mind. They're actually still bad. But
You're such a hater.
They have the Cowboys this week. Man, talk about a Waterloo game for the Cowboys.
I thought the Steelers played the Cowboys. No.
Oh yeah, it's because the Lions are on bye. Their next game is in Dallas.
Okay.
Yeah, excuse me. Thank you for that, Denny.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, so I mean, we'll find out if the Lions are actually good.
Hey,
if they go to 3 straight NFC Championship games, I might start considering them good.
Yeah, if they win 2 to 5 Super Bowls in a row, I will concede that they're good.
Then they're good. Yeah, why is that so hard? I never called the Chiefs good before they won 3 of 4 Super Bowls or 3 of 5. Excuse me. That's the benchmark.
You got to pump the brakes. As they tell me online, I have to wait 4 years to make a judgment on Caleb Williams.
And the Chiefs, they're 4-0 now. I know that the 2-time defending Super Bowl champions are 4-0. Lots of people, like there's this guy out there named Craig Carter, who says the Chiefs are bad, despite winning 2 Super Bowls in a row and have yet to lose this season. The haters abound.
As I am reminded on the internet, 4-0, 4-0.
4-0. I mean, please do admit that they're easily winning the Super Bowl again, right?
Yeah, no, I mean, on every Friday stream I say, look, the Chiefs stink and they're going to win the Super Bowl.
Exactly. Being bad has never been better. It's just the safe strategy these days. Part of the reason people question the Chiefs, Denny, is, of course, everyone's questioning Patrick Mahomes. He's only the QB 15 right now, struggling for multiple scores. So we're starting to get questions like Darnold or Mahomes, or Geno Smith or Mahomes. Geno Smith was in the QB1 conversation 2 years ago. Didn't really push for it last year. He never fell out of like priority streamer range. He was still fantasy viable last year. But through 4 games of the Ryan Grubb era, a lot of weird game scripts. Last night was the first night they were even really tested. Are we saying Geno is a safe QB1 amidst this like league-wide quarterback apocalypse right now? Still yet to have a multi-score start through the air.
I know. Look, he's actually Geno Smith is the cover guy on the regression files this week, which I encourage folks to check out. I did sort of a checkup on offenses that are running like unsustainably hot or cold through 4 weeks. Now that we have a month of data, I thought it was time. So check that out. But I did mention Geno in detail. Look, 67% of the Seahawks touchdowns have come on the ground this year. Okay. That's the third highest rate in the NFL. That can't last for a massively pass first Seahawks offense. So Pat, remember we were freaking out, or at least I was freaking out after week 1 when they were super run heavy against Denver, right? Turns out Denver is a run funnel and like a huge run funnel. And that's just what's going to happen. If you throw that game out week 1 and then just take week 2, 3, 4, the Seattle offense is 13% over its expected drop back rate. Okay. It is, I know it's glorious. It's really, really great for everybody. There's so much volume to go around. Geno's just running cold on touchdowns. As soon as he's not, he's gonna spike here. And folks are asking me, Geno or Mahomes. For me, honestly, I'm trying not to be, crazy here, but it's not a question. I mean, it's Geno.
Right now, that is not a question. It starts to become a question around the Darnold line. I feel like, especially this week with Darnold facing the New York Jets. Let's just talk about Patrick Mahomes real quick, Denny, because I feel like this has been his worst quarter of football. Like the way I'm approaching Patrick Mahomes is this is his worst 4 games this season. My Galaxy brain take almost is that the Rashee Rice injury might almost force them into a more fantasy friendly offense where it's still going to be like way too boom or bust, but we might get more big plays in the form of the weird Kelsey freelancing and the fact that his have to involve Xavier Worthy more, who like when he gets a target can't help but score a 52 yards, 64-yard touchdown, and like the valleys are going to remain. Mahomes is also kind of running, I feel like, unsustainably cold in the red zone. And with how bad their backfield is, I just think the Chiefs goal line back is going to mostly remain like Pat Mahomes shovel passes or Pat Mahomes quick outs. Or I understand the Mahomes freak out, but I mean, his like collapse in production is still way better than a lot. Like he's at least throwing for 230 yards every week, which sounds like damning with faint praise, but he's got 2 multiple score starts. There's so many guys like never had a multi-score start, never thrown for more than 200 yards. Like could Kyler Murray, I don't know, you ever thought about throwing for more than 200 yards? Like Trevor Lawrence, you ever thought about throwing for 234 yards? Did that thought ever enter your mind? And I just think we've already seen the worst from Mahomes, even with Rashee Rice going out. But here, why does Pat Mahomes actually stink, though?
Yeah, here's why you're wrong. No one has a lower air yards per pass attempt than Mahomes. 5.4 air yards per. That is atrocious, and that includes, Pat, the 50+ yard bomb to Xavier Worthy this past week. Okay, so look, man.
Let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4, no, but okay, continue. Sorry.
You're right, and we can just end the conversation.
Yeah,
there.
it's over.
I mean, from a fantasy standpoint, I mean, this happened with Brady at a point during Brady's run. Where fantasy wise, we were like, okay, well, like we got to pull the plug on this guy. Like we can't pretend he's going to put up numbers. I think we're at that point with Mahomes. I know it sounds crazy.
Well, hold on. This happened with Brady every year for about 10 to 12 years. Oh. And then you remember what happened every single year is that he went on the warpath down the stretch. Like almost literally 10 or 12 years in a row. Brady finally doesn't have it this year. It's me like seriously like 2014. Yeah, it's finally over. Like a long national nightmare is over. Yeah. This guy's got 2 years max. And what I actually meant was he had 4 Super Bowl wins max.
Yeah, wait, that is. I interpreted it that way, just so you know, when you said that. I don't know, Pat. I think, yeah, I mean, you're starting him over Trevor Lawrence. But what do you want me to say? I don't know who I would start him over.
You'd still start him over way more people than you think, which is what I just think that that's what most fantasy managers don't realize. I'm trying to pull up.
Okay, Baker Mayfield.
Mayfield right now, but Mayfield's like in the top 10 is the thing.
I know.
So here's the deal. Here's the deal, Denny. Pat Mahomes is currently the QB 14 by total fantasy points. So first off, people are acting like, he's like the QB 27, like he's like Deshaun Watson or Matthew Stafford or something. He has more fantasy points, right? This is total fantasy points than your precious Jared Goff, than Deshaun Watson, Aaron Rodgers, Anthony Richardson, Caleb Williams, Kirk Cousins, Trevor Lawrence. I know this is Jordan Love. Of course, he was hurt. I know this is kind of damning with faint praise. This isn't the company he's supposed to keep. But he's 1 point behind Joe Burrow. He's 1 point behind CJ Stroud. He's 1 point behind Brock Purdy. So people are overestimating the extent of Mahomes' collapse amidst the league-wide apocalypse, I'll say.
Okay.
And I don't understand why people are so ready to say it's over for Mahomes. Like the best player in the league really isn't going to bounce back from a slow 4 games. Is this really what we're telling people?
But it's more than 4 games. That's the issue.
He was like the QB5 last year. It's the problem is this is the NFL now. This is the NFL now.
Yeah, right. It is the reality of the league. I mean, I don't know. You talk about a guy like Purdy. Purdy's running really cold on touchdowns.
So is Mahomes.
I know.
So is Mahomes.
I don't know.
Don't say I'm mad. I'm not.
I have a hard time believing that an offense based around force feeding an aging tight end is going to work. I think it's just going to be check downs all day. It's going to be Harrison Butker from 68 yards for the win every single week. And that works if you're a KC fan. That
was
works.
The case last year, and he was the QB7 by average points last year.
Yeah, that stinks.
I just think people. This is what I'm saying is the whole league stinks. And if you're looking for tiebreakers, a pretty good tiebreaker is this quarterback the best player in the NFL? That remains a compelling tiebreaker.
It is, but what does that have to do with fantasy?
It has to do with everyone struggling, and that's a compelling tiebreaker right now. When everyone is CJ, really. Are we that comfortable saying that CJ Stroud, who has stunk, is going to produce more fantasy points than Patrick Mahomes the final 12 games of the season?
I'm very confident in that.
No,
I mean, he actually has weapons.
So does Mahomes.
Diggs, Dell, and Collins are the greatest trio of all time compared to what Mahomes has. Mahomes has a gadget player, Tutu Atwell gadget player, and Xavier Worthy.
All right, yeah, it's good.
Rasheed Rice is out for a long time.
He might not be done for the season.
They're getting a lot of X-rays on that guy right now.
I know.
Travis Kelce's doing his zigzags out in the middle of nowhere.
He watched Galaxy Brains.
Justin Watson and Juju Smith-Schuster. Is that something that interests you? I mean, it's terrible.
The connection's a little shaky. I can't really hear you, Denny. Can't really hear you. Oh,
I'm sorry.
Why don't they just throw? Why is the league doing this to us, man? Why is the league?
I was too harsh, and I want to apologize. I didn't mean to bring up Justin Watson.
Why is the league doing this to us? This is just sad.
It is sad.
Really sad.
Yeah, I don't like it. Just so everyone knows, people think I'm like, oh yeah, Mahomes stinks now. No, I don't like that. You think I want that? No.
By the way, you'll be sorry when the Chiefs acquire Darius Slayton. That's all I can say.
God.
You'll be sorry.
Okay.
You'll be very sorry. We still technically are talking about the Seahawks. I don't know. Should we just move on though? Anything to say about the Seahawks wide receivers behind DK Metcalf, who we were all in on over the summer? Congratulations to us.
He got unlucky on Monday night. That was tough.
He did.
Anyway, 23% target share through 4 games for DK Metcalf. Not exactly where I thought he would be. I thought he'd be north of 25, but whatever. 21% target share for JSN and 17% for Lockett. Now, JSN isn't good, but his 66% receiving success rate ranks top 15 in the league. He's a check down merchant. He does nothing, but I think for PPR purposes, he's a nice little scam.
He didn't even look. He was another guy that didn't even look that fast to me last night. It's like, is this really as fast as JSN is?
I feel like he got caught really fast. Also, I'm going to need some next gen stats on Sam LaPorta. My guy was looking like Mercedes Lewis running down the field.
Oh, he's hurt. It's because he came back. He was the guy who was supposed to miss time, and he didn't miss any games.
I mean, he was lumbering.
Yeah. By the way, I've realized my entire brand has become just easily proving, like this easily betting on the Chiefs. Everyone remember? I may or may not remember. I famously said last Christmas Day after the Chiefs lost the Raiders that not a bit that they would still win the Super Bowl. And then they, of course, easily won the Super Bowl. I've seriously almost never bet in my life. I placed actual bets.
I know.
Like 3 weeks
I was
ago.
there.
I was like, this is a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity for the Chiefs to be the underdog. And every week they won. They covered like champions. And
you embraced the greatness, and I commend you for that.
embracing the quick need for a reset. We need a short break. We'll be back to talk about the Titans and the Dolphins. Dominate this NFL season with a Fantasy Life Plus subscription. Get weekly rankings, start sit advice, DFS analysis, and betting tools. Use promo code SEASON20 for 20% off. Go to fantasylife.com/rotoworld to learn more. Denny, one area where we did not learn anything more was the Titans and Dolphins, because this was like a classic Monday Night Football fiasco game. It's like, all right, no offense to our friends at ESPN, but like, why is this game even happening? Like, why am I watching this? Like, it had a heavy week 13 feel where like both teams are super injured, like don't even know who their quarterback is. They have no idea how to score points. But we have to start with the Dolphins. Where Snoop Huntley, some of us may have thought he might be the savior.
What did you?
Yards. Well, relative to friggin' Skylar Thompson and Tim Boyle, I was like, maybe this guy who's actually had some good NFL starts will complete a few passes to Tyreek Hill.
I won't be silenced. I will not be silenced on this. Tim Boyle is the answer.
Stop. Tim Boyle, who has never, ever, ever been good dating back to high school, will never be the answer. Ever.
I mean, I would say relatively the answer.
Google Tim Boyle sports reference and remind yourself of his UConn stats.
I will never do that. You know that. How can the Dolphins have gone into the season with nothing behind Tua? Nothing. I just don't get it.
Anyway. I had an injury history. It's hard. Backup quarterback is a spot where every team with playoff aspirations needs to invest actual resources. A lot of times, if you're in the playoff mix, you've already invested so many resources in so many other areas that you just can't do it.
Yeah.
And you basically have to take the prey approach. And God did not listen.
All right. So I have some stuff on Tyreek Hill because in the show notes, you acknowledged that I was actually right in saying that he is not fantasy viable anymore.
Hold on. Sort of said that. But yeah, to continue.
I
said maybe.
I'm speaking for myself. He's not a top 50 receiver without Tua. He's been targeted on 24% of his routes over the past 2 games, which is pretty decent. But those throws have been so low quality that it hasn't mattered. I have a very depressing stat here. On Monday night, he had 4 catches. Tyreek Hill had exactly 4 total yards after the catch. I feel like McDaniel is totally inflexible and cannot make the EPA machine go burr without the perfect button pusher back there. Tua obviously is a very smart and savvy quarterback who knows all the buttons. I mean, he's sitting in his nuclear plant and he's just pushing buttons everywhere. He's getting 15 guys in motion and all this stuff. And he knows how to operate this offense. No one else on earth knows how to do it. And that's a problem for Tyreek Hill. It only works with Tua.
Well, I would say too with Mike McDaniel, even when he has the perfect button pusher and Tua, he like the defense pushes the right buttons, and Mike McDaniel's like, I don't, man. Like, I don't. You want to try? He's talking to a guy in the stands. Me, like he overheard me talking to you. Like, man, I might make an adjustment. You want to come down here and do it?
Yeah.
You want to try it? Like, no. You thought you might have an idea though, other than just doing the exact same thing over and over again that isn't working.
I was going to keep this a secret, but Mike McDaniel texted me and said, "Would you like to be the OC next week?" And I took him up on it. So, adjust your ranks.
Adjust your ranks. Yeah, Mike McDaniel needs more than one adjustment. Well, he needs more than 0 adjustments. He said 0 adjustments.
Would be good.
Down the stretch, back-to-back years, and now to begin the season with the injury. I will say with Tyreek Hill, I'm still starting him every week in fantasy because he's the classic. You need to get lucky every time. I only need to get lucky one-time player where one target changes weeks, changes seasons still for Tyreek Hill, where now he's like a boom or bust, like wide receiver 3. But I will never sit Tyreek Hill in fantasy football. I mean, he's one target away from totally flipping matchups still. Doesn't matter who's a quarterback. Could be like Kendall Hinton. And he's still one target away from changing a matchup. And so that's why Tyreek Hill cannot be benched ever in fantasy football, in my opinion.
God, I struggle with that one. But
No, you don't just look at the ranks. You wouldn't actually struggle with this if you just like looked at the rankings for 2 seconds.
I will never look at the ranks.
Like honestly, let's see real quick. Tyreek Hill, or let's see here. Well, I know what you're gonna say. You'd start
Please
Wandale.
give me someone that I can't say.
Greg Dortch. I mean,
Yeah,
you're honestly gonna
all
start
right.
Greg Dortch over
Tyreek.
Tyreek Hill.
Tyreek, yeah.
All right, thank you. Jordan Addison.
I think Addison.
Tutu Atwell.
Tyreek.
Are you gonna look at me in the face and tell me you're starting Cortland Sutton over Tyreek
Oh,
Hill?
I was going to mention him, and
What?
yes.
Why? Like, oh, because when you win with Cortland Sutton, oh wow, 7 catches for 68 yards. Like, oh my God, thank you so much, Cortland. Oh yeah, the Bank Examiner didn't just put down the foundation for a new Spirit Halloween behind my house. I'm stealing Denny's joke and also turning very red because the sun shined into my office. I mean, Cortland Sutton, like, who cares? Like, a good Cortland Sutton game doesn't do anything for you.
Yeah, it's
There's
better
literally
than a
nothing
bad
for it.
Tyreek game.
I guess.
7 for 70 and a touchdown from Cortland Sutton. I'll take that over whatever Tyreek's going to give me at this point.
Tyreek's going to give you a 72-yard touchdown in week 5.
I mean,
you heard it here first.
Sure, I hope so, because I have him on. Let me check every best ball team.
Romeo Doubs or Tyreek Hill?
I guess Hill.
See, it wasn't as easy as you thought.
No, it's not. You're right.
But yeah, is anyone else startable? Like Devin Achane headed to the bench.
I mean, I think with the state of running back, I think you just got to go with Achane. Hopefully, they'll get him some easy touches.
Where are the easy touches? I thought Mike McDaniel would be an easy touches guy, and
maybe it just like maybe Snoop Huntley will be better in this offense in a week or two, and things will kind of loosen up. I don't know.
I do not know. Do you know anything about what's going on with the Titans wide receivers?
Oh yeah, I wanted to mention this. Titans with Will Levis going out last night. By the way, how much pain was that guy in? I mean, and because he's a tough SOB. Excuse my language. And for him to be, in that much clear agony on the sideline, I would have been asking for an arm amputation on the sideline. So tough guy, didn't work out. Mason Rudolph comes in. The Titans are 20% below their expected drop back rate. 20%. That's crazy against the Dolphins. They dropped back on 37% of their plays on Monday night. It basically destroyed all pass volume. We had Calvin Ridley, 2 targets, 1 catch for 5 yards. We had DeAndre Hopkins, 2 catches for 31 yards. Hopkins only ran 55% of the routes, so that's bad. It's apocalyptic.
I'm sorry, I'm laughing. Most people are going to hear this in audio form. If you're watching on video, producer Adam wants to know why it looks like I'm on Mars.
It does look like.
And the answer is I have absolutely no idea.
It looks like you're on the red planet. Yeah.
Can someone please help me with lighting? I don't know what to do. I look like I'm on Mars. DeAndre Hopkins still in the top 48. Denny Carter.
Gosh. Yes.
Really? DeAndre Hopkins or Tyreek Hill? DeAndre Hopkins or Tyreek Hill?
Like going forward?
Yeah, I don't know. Sure.
I mean, it all depends on Tua.
Tua was back in week 8. Here's what I'm telling people a lot in my Reddit chat on. So the Dolphins, I think the Dolphins, the only reason they placed Tua on IR was because of public pressure. I think Tua should have gone on IR for 4 games and not a guy who should have been allowed to make a hasty decision. I do think Tua should be allowed to make the decision on his own. I didn't think he should be forced to make a hasty decision though. And they needed to, even if he was cleared healthy, to send him to IR. But I think the Dolphins, the vibes they were getting off, listen, man, this guy's healthy. And we're only doing this because you're saying we have to. So I think Tua will be back in week 8. Because they have their bye mixed in. So he's not just missing 4 games. He's missing 5 weeks. But I do think Tua's back in week 8. That's 2 more games, 3 more weeks where you have to weather the storm. But it's not going to be going on as long as you think, is what I'm telling fantasy.
Yeah, right.
Week 8.
So the answer is Tyreek. Yeah.
Denny, is the answer It looks like we're done talking about this one. We're going to talk about Thursday Night Football, where the Bucs are visiting the Atlanta Falcons. And another thing, Denny's you've been known to dabble in is that Bijan Robinson, not good. And Bijan Robinson was so good to begin the season. Played at least 75% of the snaps each of the first 3 weeks. Appeared that he had vanquished the committee concerns for good. Then week 4 arrived. Heading into week 4, Tyler Allgeier had been more efficient. Backup running backs are famously efficient, though. So you get nice, cool touches where the defense is either tired or you're changing the pace. The Falcons coaching staff seemed to believe in it. Allgeier was involved from the opening whistle. It was a weird game with the Saints. It was a really close game, 26-24 victory. Bijan down to 62% of the snaps. He was still the primary pass catcher, still seems to be the primary guy at the goal line. Maybe it was a 1-week blip also. Like, it is just one game. But it was cause for genuine concern. How alarmed are we by a potentially re-emerging Tyler Allgeier, Bijan Robinson committee?
Well, the Falcons remain run first, and that means that Allgeier has to be involved, right? And we've talked about that a little bit. Both running backs have 6 red zone carries through 4 games. Bijan has a slight lead inside the 10 carries. But Allgeier is a super efficient running back who just like forces his way, kind of like Braylon Allen, right? I mean, he's good enough. I know you're a hater, but I mean, he's good enough so that the coaches, feel compelled, like, okay, like, well, let's get this guy a few touches here and he can bull through some defenders and really like establish it like we want to. So I think Robinson should be fine, but Allgeier could be a little bit of a stumbling block for that like elite season.
Coaches just have such a hard time grasping the fact that excellent is better than good. And Tyler Allgeier is certifiably good. He would be starting for probably at least like 6 or 7 NFL teams, fewer than people think. But people like Tyler Allgeier, they always say stuff like, this guy would start for half the league, man. Like, no, it's probably actually like 5 or 6 teams that he would start for. And this, like, they can't get over the fact, like, yes, he's good, but sometimes good players don't get the ball. Sometimes they don't get to play. It's the NFL. These things happen. But it's just another coaching. It's Kirk Cousins' fault, to be totally honest. He hasn't been good enough, so they have to rely on the run. So it was forcing Allgeier on the field at all. And then he, like, looks fine. So, like, all right, they both look fine. Let's give them both the ball. Mm-hmm. But especially with bye week starting, I'm not dropping Bijan outside the top 12 yet.
I do just real quick. I want to correct myself here. In week 4, I don't know what I was looking at here, but in week 4, Atlanta was 11% over its expected dropback rate, which is really high, 71% dropback rate on the day against the Saints. That is way pass heavier than the rest of the season. So maybe they've shifted. It's hard to say.
Denny, my oxygen levels are getting low here.
Yeah, you're Matt Damon over there.
I look like Matt Damon right now. Here we go, Denny. Is it even more Jover for Kyle Pitts than it is the other tight ends in the ongoing tight end apocalypse? 104 total yards in the season, yet to catch more than 3 balls. Doesn't even look fast. Been under 30 yards 3 times in 4 games. The whole position is struggling, but is Kyle Pitts maybe the foremost struggler and maybe even getting near droppable territory?
Yeah, I mean, all the metrics point to him just not being good. And I don't know if he just never got back from that knee injury he suffered a couple years ago now. But I looked at ESPN's open score this morning, which measures, as you would guess, how open a guy gets on his routes on average. Pitts ranks 68th out of 72 pass catchers in that data. So he's just simply not open, and it is a cause for concern. Like, they're trying to make him a thing. He's out there, lies running some routes. They can't force the ball into a guy who it has no separation and also doesn't do anything after the catch. I think it's an issue that makes him barely startable in 12-team fantasy formats. I mean, I think you can do better. I'm trying to think of some guys I would start over him. It's hard because tight end is horrific, as you said.
It's a wasteland. But this week, Tyler Conklin, against the Minnesota Vikings over Kyle Pitts?
Yeah, I mean, probably it's revenge season for Conklin, by the way. But yeah, I think so. I think so. But Conklin is his involvement and his usage is not all that great either.
No, it's not. Producer Adam asked the real one. I was wondering about Isaiah Likely, who has done absolutely nothing since week
we'll get
one.
to the Ravens in a second. I guess Likely, because at least he has a chance for a big play, and Pitts has zero chance for a big play.
No. Well, hold on. If you get him running in a straight line, he's probably still going to have a big play, right? If we get him chugging down the seam, right? No, he doesn't look fast. Yeah, he looks slow, actually.
He looks very slow. I don't take any pleasure in saying it. I thought this guy was supposed to be a unicorn, right? This is what we heard. He's the fastest tight end ever. I mean, he looks like Jared Cook. I don't know.
He cannot be a tight end one anymore. He just cannot be tight end one. Real quick, the Bucky Irving give us up to date, because Bucky week 4 was actually the first time he didn't out carry Rachaad White. It was also the first time he reached 10 carries.
Yeah,
and he tied Rachaad White in carries. Kyle had mentioned how it seemed like the nature of his carries were changing. They've been looking up for Bucky Irving all season, but are they getting near the point where like he's a weekly start? People have already been starting him in like deeper leagues, but is he getting near like every week start territory? I'll be at low end RB3 start territory, but is it getting better and better with Bucky Irving?
The problem is the nature of the Tampa offense is pass first, right? They're 5% over their expected drop back rate. They're very pass heavy on first downs. It's a good offense in that regard, and I don't really see games where both guys can get there, because of the rush volume will be low. Like, it will be depressed here. I have some stats from, like you mentioned, 10 carries for Bucky Irving. Both him and Rachaad White had 10 carries for 44 yards, which is something. Each has 38% of the teams inside the 5 touches on the season. Each averages the same forced missed tackles per carry. They're like the same guy right now. Now the one metric where Irving pops, that where White doesn't, and you won't be shocked by this, Pat. Bucky Irving is 6th best in PFF's elusive rating, and White is ranked 25th. So I think Irving is a better runner, and it has made it so that Rachaad White is hard to stomach, I think, in 12-team formats. I'm hesitant to start Bucky Irving, because you're basically like banking on really positive game script, almost like blowout script like we had this week with the Bucks beating up on the Eagles.
By the way, I apologize for ongoing camera issues. We're going to look into it after the show. My microphone is working just fine, though. And Denny, really good stuff on Mr. Bucky Irving. And it's the sunlight in the fall here. I don't know what's going on, but something's going on. I will take a short break. We'll be right back after this. It's an inter-conference showdown Sunday night in Week 5. Catch Dak Prescott and the Cowboys taking on T.J. Watt and the vaunted Steelers defense in Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania. Coverage kicks off at 7 p.m. Eastern, only on NBC and Peacock. So I don't know, do the thing where you talk about Joe Flacco being better than Anthony Richardson, the savior of this Colts offense. Everyone's now relevant, where before they were irrelevant. Even though Anthony Richardson may still start this week. It's Tuesday. We don't have an injury report yet.
Yeah.
We don't quite know what's going to happen. I will say, if he couldn't play the final 3 quarters on Sunday, I'm not sure why it's just like instantly fine. And especially with the way Joe Flacco played, I could see them maybe giving Richardson a Russell Wilson type week. Like, you get healthy there, young man. But just tell us about the differences in this offense with Joe Flacco versus Anthony Richardson.
Yeah, I mean, Michael Pittman and Josh Downs, who I wrote about in the regression files, if folks want to check that out. They set season highs for everything, for targets, for routes, for catches, for yardage. And it's obvious, like, from a fantasy standpoint. Okay, look, I'm a fantasy guy. I don't know ball. I do know fantasy. And I like a point guard distributor at quarterback if I have those receivers, right? And that is not what Anthony Richardson is. Anthony Richardson, by most metrics, the worst passer in the NFL. And he is, and he rushes, not to the extent that we would like, but that takes away pass attempts. So I think Pittman becomes like a borderline top 12 receiver with Flacco under center. Downs becomes really interesting from a PPR scan perspective. And then, but neither of them are all that interesting at all, or maybe not even startable if Richardson is back next week. It's an unfortunate thing because you want to see Richardson, you want to see him do well. He's now been injured 4 times in his career, all of them on rushing attempts. He's just taking huge shots. That can't continue.
No, it can't. Michael Pittman, top 8, especially with 4 teams on bye, easily back into the top 18 if Anthony Richardson sits this week. So Anthony Richardson, by the way, is listed with oblique and abdominal issues. We don't actually know what the Colts will list him as. That's just what he's been reported as having.
I heard a hip.
Yeah, well, a hip. It's all. He's basically took an internal shot. The whole midsection of Anthony Richardson seems to be sore. He has a, quote, shot to play in week 5. They're giving him a week. It's going to be Flacco season. And Flacco versus Mahomes is going to be the most popular question in your Friday live chat at noon Eastern, I believe.
It will be. Who are they playing? Do you know?
They're playing the Jaguars. The Colts.
Oh, that's even worse. I was hoping it was a bad matchup.
No, it's not. It's Flacco season. It takes me no pleasure. It is Flacco season.
Oh, gosh. It really is.
It's Flacco season. Flacco or your precious Sam Darnold this week, Denny? Sam Darnold playing the New York Jets in London town.
Yeah, I mean, I think Darnold is a play.
Oh, man, we're getting, I think, our final answer on the Darnold experiment. If he has 260 yards and 2 touchdowns and no interceptions against the Jets, like the dude might win MVP, I think.
No, he can't. You can't win MVP just because you sucked before. That they changed the rules.
No, he's gonna be that's comeback player of the year. He's gonna win the MVP.
I'm sorry. I was thinking comeback player, right?
He's gonna win MVP. Well, they shouldn't have changed the sucked rule for comeback player of the year. I actually thought that was a great criteria. Listen, man, you were awful last year, Phillip Rivers.
Right.
This year you weren't.
You came back. Good job.
People did have issue with sucking, taking the comeback player over the year over the poor man who almost died on the field, though. That's why they changed that rule, which you must admit is probably a better comeback than Joe Flacco getting marginally better.
I think our colleague Jay Croucher agrees.
He did. Jay Croucher talked about that one rather thoroughly on the Fantasy Football Happy Hour.
He's still thinking about that one. I don't blame him.
I don't. Everyone is still thinking about Dontayvion Wicks. Had the 2 best games of his career and Jordan Love's 2 starts so far this season. 13 targets, 2 touchdowns in week 4, with the absolutely enormous caveat. I think the Green Bay Packers want to run the ball. They cannot run the ball when they fall down 28-0 in the second quarter, though. It was the most absurd comeback game script you'll ever see. And thankfully, Jordan Love, I always been wondering that garbage time was just like dead in the NFL.
Yeah.
And garbage time, these quarterbacks aren't talented enough, so all they do is take sacks and throw interceptions. And Jordan Love, he was throwing some interceptions in garbage time, but he was also just like Eli Manning days of yore, actually compiling and being a garbage time hero, a garbage time legend. That's the caveat for Dontayvion Wicks' production in week 4, where it's not a repeatable, not a sustainable game script. But Christian Watson hurt in the process. How excited can we be about Dontayvion Wicks heading into week 5?
Yeah, I think, every analytics nerd's favorite receiver is in for, good usage, at least in the Green Bay offense. Partly because of the insane play volume that the Packers had in week 4. Dontayvion Wicks led all pass catchers in air yards with 183. Now, the actual yards that you could eat and that could feed your family were 78 total. So he did run cold there. He wasn't just like put on the boundary, which is nice. He ran 35% of his routes from the slot. So they moved him around. I think that's a good sign of how they want to get him involved. And I have a stat I'd like to share with the class from our own Zach Kruger. He wrote that since 2022, Dontayvion Wicks has been targeted on 21.5% of his routes. That's basically in line with Jaden Reed. And it ranks 33rd among 92 qualifying receivers. So what I'm saying is that Wicks has shown to be somewhat of a target commander. And Watson being out, I think I'm more excited about Wicks than I would be about Watson, because now Wicks gets all of that, the pass routes, the targets, everything. I think he needs to be started in 12-team leagues.
Zach probably means post 2022. By the way, Wicks just came into the league last year, of course, but he's commanding.
I may have messed that up. Sorry, Zach.
Wicks. I'll just say, I know they don't want to pass this much, and they're still targeting everyone. Like Tucker Kraft was very heavily targeted in week 5. Where I could see it being a classic overreaction to one garbage time game. The good news is the other time they were having to throw to keep up was week 1 against the Eagles, and he was 7 or 8 targets, which is a pretty good total for him in a game where everyone was healthy. And like you said, going back to last year, he has legitimately commanded targets. And some of it's been wonky game script, but I mean, commanding targets even in wonky game script is a skill.
Yeah,
there are other guys he could target. So yeah, it's a little maybe hold your horses. There's undeniably in the top 48, almost certainly in the top 40, probably the top 36 this week.
You keep going, man. Keep going.
I know. He's a wide receiver 3 this week with 4 teams on bye and the injuries mounting.
Yeah, I mean, you're excited. I think if you pick him up this week and with buys and injuries, I think you're pretty excited. You say, I get to plug in this guy. He's locked in for, I don't know, 7, 8, 9 targets, something like that, and a good offense with a good quarterback. It could be worse.
Dontayvion Wicks, Denny Carter, at the Rams, which will just be all Packers fans in LA, or Xavier Worthy versus the New Orleans Saints at home.
Wicks, yeah.
Dontayvion Wicks or Christian Kirk? Christian Kirk playing the Colts.
Kirk is on fire right now. I'm going with Kirk.
Really? Man.
Oh, nice. No, yeah. Kirk is running hot, and it could get better. Again, regression files guy, check it out.
Kirk fails the never been good test though.
I don't, I see the Christian Kirk dot running on my screen, and he's catching a lot of balls right now.
Dontayvion Wicks against the Rams, Roma Dunze against the Carolina Panthers.
Wicks
or JSN against the New York Giants.
I was hoping you wouldn't say that. In a PPR, I'd go Wicks. I go Wicks.
JSN's enough of a PPR merchant.
That's a hard one, I will say.
Final one. I think this one's probably kind of easy. Brian Thomas Jr. or Dontayvion Wicks.
No, I don't know which way it's easy. Thomas.
Yeah, it's Thomas. Thomas is honestly Thomas's profile has been a wide receiver 1 so far.
Yeah. His usage is really good, air yards wise and everything. He's getting a lot of opportunity.
Brian Thomas is a wide receiver 1 profile. I'm not ranking him as a wide receiver 1 yet, but that is, if you're just looking at the dots, you see a wide receiver 1. Then if you're looking at the dots, if you're looking at the box scores, if you're looking at the film, you were seeing a player who is not only not startable, but not rosterable. Mark Andrews. Back-to-back games of 0 catches on 1 target. Can't get any worse than that. But again, every tight end is struggling. We have no idea what to do with this position. Pedigree has to matter somewhat. But how long of a leash does Mark Andrews get? What is the reasonable hope for bouncing back in an offense that has been so run dominant? It's what the heck can we tell people about Mark Andrews?
Well, let me just share some facts, and folks can come to their own conclusions, okay? I'm only reporting facts here. The Ravens' expected dropback rate this year is just 53%, which is low already. Their actual dropback rate is 46%, which is that's lower than 53, Pat. There's just no pass volume to go around in this Baltimore offense. If you take away the crazy week 1 where the Ravens were down big and had to drop back a lot, and big pass rate over expected game. If you take that away and just look at weeks 2, 3, 4, Lamar is 22nd in dropbacks over that stretch. He's averaging 24 dropbacks per game over those 3 games. You add in, 4, 5, 6 rushing attempts, and you're talking about 18 throws or so. And so Mark Andrews, if he's lucky, sees 3 of those or 4. What do you get? What do you get when you win? You get nothing.
That's what I don't understand is though, how is his how are his percentages even on the reduced overall volume? I don't understand how his percentages are so low. It feels unsustainably low. The guys he's losing targets to. But he is a guy. I wonder if he suffered one injury too many, and he's like not getting open and not doing what the Ravens want him to do, basically.
And, I have a football guy take his bad drop against the Bills. I don't know. Did you see that where he just
I actually didn't.
He was wide open. There wasn't a defender within 8 yards, and he was going to catch it and get the first down. He basically just swatted the ball down to the turf.
Interesting.
And to me, that says that is a guy who wants it so bad, and he wants it too much. Is what I'm saying.
Yeah.
And so I think his lack of production, his lack of opportunity so far this year has actually affected him, mentally. I think that it's messed him up.
Denny, some of us were working during that game.
Oh yeah, you were. I'm sorry.
I always missed the first half of Sunday Night Football, which does kill me. I love Sunday Night Football. I love NBC. I love Peacock, but I missed the drop.
You could always watch the replay on Peacock.
Okay, you actually can. Watch the replay of. I don't know. The tapes aren't really worth watching from the Chiefs backfield, Denny, but they would show Kareem Hunt easily taking control of it in Week 4. Like we're talking very easily. Carson Steele lost one fumble, and Andy Reid's like, whatever. I mean. Like the fullback thing, the Carson Steele thing was a classic. We've won 2 Super Bowls in a row. We've won 3 of 5 Super Bowls. Like, we might as well just try some stuff. Yeah, sure, whatever. Put a fullback out. What do I care? I mean, who even cares? Like, the regular season does not matter at all until you fumble one time, and then it matters a lot. And then Carson Steele was quickly mothballed in favor of Kareem Hunt.
Yeah.
CEH could be coming back from the NFI list. Kareem Hunt was looking very dusty the final few years in Cleveland, but what can we tell people about this backfield and that takeover?
The Carson Steele thing reminds me of, as a golfer, when you're on a heater and you're hitting it well, and it actually becomes like a little bit boring just to hit the ball straight, right? So then you're like, you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to draw this thing in. I'm going to aim right at the pin, and I'm going to hit a 15-yard draw into this pin, and then you completely just blow it 20 yards right? Because you just got too fancy. And that's what happened with Carson Steele. And that experiment obviously is over. Wow. Kareem Hunt looked, shall I say, thick and possibly not in total game shape.
He looked good, though, I will say.
He was bullying through people at a rate that we did not see with Steele or with Pirine. And I think he's going to be the lead back. Pirine got the short touchdown. But I think if you need
a total fluke, the Pirine is for whatever reason happened to be on the field. Then
I mean, I think the answer is obvious. If you say, okay, you got to start at Kansas City running back, it's Kareem Hunt.
Do we have any fear of CEH coming back and actually claiming a role?
I struggle to say yes. We don't really have much insight into what's happening there. I know folks know that he's struggling with mental health issue. He's maybe come back. I've heard week 6. But is he in game shape? Are they ready to have him take the plunge? I don't know. I would say Hunt has a clear runway to establish himself as the RB1 is what it says.
He could be a very, very valuable fantasy commodity down the stretch. Like a guy who shouldn't be, but like classic right place, right time for Kareem Hunt. And I do like adding him off waivers this week. Chase Brown, not really available on waivers, but probably is in some leagues. He's probably dropped after weeks 1 through 3.
Yeah.
The guy who was popping off the page finally got some volume in week 4 and turned it into real production, 15 carries for 80 yards. I know he had a few catches, same amount of work as Zach Moss, way more yards. Is this maybe finally happening? Or is it just a classic game script, blah, blah, blah. The change of pace guy got lucky and got more work than usual. What do we think happened with Chase Brown?
It could be that. I will say Chase Brown is the ultimate not in my league player.
I know.
I mean, if you tell folks to pick up Chase Brown on waivers, they will remind you that they drafted Chase Brown in the 3rd round in August.
Yes.
So, but he is available in non-sicko leagues. I mean, it's interesting. Look, they continue, Moss and Brown continue to split route running duties out of the Cincinnati backfield. Although Moss does have an edge there, interestingly. The two backs split the carries evenly against the Panthers, 15 apiece. And Chase Brown, again, was way more efficient on the season. He averages 6.5 yards per carry to Moss's 3.9 yards per carry. Yards after contact is very much in Chase Brown's favor. I'm not going to bore you guys with the metrics. Just suffice it to say, Chase Brown has done a lot with a little. And I think it seems like, Pat, that the Bengals coaches are kind of taking note and saying, oh, maybe we should give the young man a little more opportunity. Moss isn't going anywhere. But I think that Brown, I mean, I started Chase Brown out of pure unadulterated desperation this past week and was very happy with what I got.
He hit up to 62% rostered on Yahoo, so he's starting to get to be a not in anyone's league type of guy.
38%,
but he's going to be probably over 80 after this week.
Though, yeah, wait, yeah.
Mm-hmm. They just need to make the change. I don't know what they're waiting around for, to be honest. Unless they just love the way Zach Moss pass protects. Like, teams have to stop overthinking running back. Like, it's become just an obsession. It's become the new conventional wisdom that committees are always better. And committees are maybe better at avoiding injury, but like see the Eagles, just like they immediately commit to a one-man backfield, and guess who actually has an effective backfield now?
Are you saying that Saquon Barkley is as good as Chase Brown and vice versa?
Just like the best running back, you can learn to hit a guy in pass protection. All right, like you can learn to catch a screen. Like this. Like, stop with the committees for committees' sake.
That argument doesn't even hold up. What I'm saying is, if Zach Moss is out there running routes, he's not pass blocking, right? So it can't actually be the pass blocking issue at hand. It's something else. It's the way they like to use him in certain situations, hyper specific situations, and they really do put a lot of time and effort, teams do, into saying this guy is perfect for this very specific situation. If Chase Brown emerges as the RB1, I think he can kind of run away with the job.
Guess who is usually better for any specific situation is the better running back.
Chase
Brown. It's the guy who's actually better.
The thing is, like, Chase Brown was crazy productive in college, right? He's a guy who, like, he didn't check a lot of boxes coming into the league, but he checked the box of gained a lot of yards per carry, gained a lot of yards per reception, right? Like, you could do worse, Bengals.
Yeah, committee for committee's sake. Gotta go, Denny. We have to go. We're out of time. By the way, after the show, maybe I'll show you how to do waivers in the guillotine league.
I'm gonna need some help there because I survived by about 2 points.
It'll look very, very powerfully. And Connor Rogers would be thrilled to know that he got eliminated and you didn't even know how to add players. I do not have any idea how to work the waiver wire in this league, and I'm gonna need you to come to my house. Actually, I watched a short tutorial video on it last year. That did. I'm not even kidding. They have videos.
Okay. So I'm not a total idiot. Like, it's actually kind of difficult.
It's complicated, but it's a complicated league. It's pretty easy though once you learn it. I had a lot of fun. I don't love the sweat. Like waiting for the humiliation of, guess what? I'm about to get eliminated. Matthew Berry's going to see me in front of all my friends getting eliminated.
Yeah. Shout out to David Montgomery and Geno Smith for saving my hide.
So, guillotine leagues, I must say, I'm not getting paid to say this, by the way. Guillotine leagues are extremely fun. Part of Matthew Berry's fantasy life. Check it out if you have not already. Check out the regression files if you have not already. Check out my rankings coming on Thursday. Check out our preview show with Denny and Kyle. I'm for the aforementioned Denny. I'm Pat. Thank you so much for listening. We'll be back in 2 days.